Okay, guys, welcome and thanks for being here today for our talk on brain health. Talking about different ways, different things we can do to improve brain health. And I feel like, this is a obviously super important topic, and I feel like as more people are talking about longevity or the conversation about longevity has become bigger and louder and more people are involved, it's like nobody wants longevity without brain health, right? So brain health is a huge, huge piece of that. And I think currently there's about 7 million people in the US alone that have Alzheimer's. So pretty big number. But the good news is there's actually a lot we can do from a prevention standpoint. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. And what I'm hoping to today is go into a little bit of the science, open your eyes or mind a little bit to some new things, and hopefully have you walk away with some new or things you haven't tried before that aren't too difficult to implement or aren't another huge project or thing on your to-do list. So that's my goal today. We'll see. We'll see how I do. I'm going to share my screen for just some super simple slides. I know a lot of people are visual learners, so I think that can be helpful. All right. Okay, so topic today, I kind of already just went through this little intro, but going to talk about top 3 ways to improve brain health. One thing I want to say, the number one factor for long-term brain health and memory is blood flow. Okay, this is the Amen Clinic, which is an expert in brain health. They've done the most scans of anyone. This is a statement coming from them, but I've heard it other places as well. But if you think about it, I mean, blood is what carries all the oxygen, nutrients to every cell in our body. So for any type of tissue health, blood flow is critical. So it can be almost like simple to think about it that way. But I thought of all the noise, they have an 11-step test for brain health, and blood flow is the biggest one by far in their test. So I'm going to just focus on that today because we can get lost in the noise of like what supplements, and there's lots of little things you can do, but blood flow is going to be by far your biggest bucket. One way to kind of think about this is the brain is only 2% of our entire body weight, but it takes up 20% of our total oxygen consumption. So way disproportionate to its size, it's taking up oxygen. So that tells you partly the importance of that. Oops, sorry about that. Clicking through my slides. Okay. So what we're going to talk about today is the 3 main areas that affect blood flow. How can remove or decrease things that decrease blood flow to our brain or to our body in general, or decrease oxygen? How do we improve vascular function specifically? Because great vascular function equals great blood flow. And so we want to really look at our vascular health. And then lastly, how does movement and exercise, how do we move more and exercise most effectively to increase blood flow during the day? So those are the 3 buckets. First one, removing things that decrease blood flow and oxygen. So, in terms of things we ingest, the things that are most detrimental to blood flow, smoking is by far the biggest. I think most people these days aren't smoking that much anymore. It's very much lower percentage of people. But other things that are more common, too much caffeine. I think most of us, including me, I'm a big fan of caffeine. But again, just too much is not great. So maybe more than 2 cups a day, caffeine causes a constriction of your blood vessels. So if you have too much of that, now our blood vessels constrict and dilate all day long based on different stimulus. So constricting blood vessels is not bad in of itself. You just don't want too much of that. Another good example of this is cold plunging has become popular. That constricts your blood vessel, but that's okay because you're only doing it for a couple minutes. And then when you get out, you dilate to warm up. So it's actually the changing from constriction to dilation, which promotes healthy blood vessels. But too much constriction is not good. Frequent alcohol use, especially if it's daily, that starts to damage our vascular system a little bit and decrease blood flow. Another one, and it's been talked about lately as being as bad for you as smoking, but being extremely sedentary or sitting, even if you exercise, let's say you go to the gym in the morning and get your hour workout in, and then you sit the next 8 to 10 hours of the day. your exercise program is not going to overcome the detrimental effects of that sitting. And the reason why that sitting is so bad is it's terrible for your circulation, which then starts to impact your vascular health. So by being too sedentary, we just aren't getting very much blood flow, and that impacts the health of all of our tissues. Dehydration is another big one. Oh gosh, shoot. I don't know why there we. Sorry about that. My slides are being weird. Dehydration. You might be interested to hear that there's only two things that impact blood pressure. It's the diameter and stiffness of your vascular system, and it's the viscosity of your blood. So if you're dehydrated, even if you have somewhat normal vascular health, you'll have higher blood pressure. So people talk about, oh, you got to drink water. Sometimes I always think like, wait, why is drinking water so important? Well, this is one of the main reasons. So we want our blood to be, a good, healthy viscosity to promote easy blood flow. And then lastly, poor sleep. Poor sleep might just mean restless sleep, having a hard time falling asleep, getting enough deep sleep. But one of the biggest risks of bad sleep is if you have any form of sleep apnea, which impacts oxygen during the night and can be really detrimental to brain health. My dad has Parkinson's, and he had years of undiagnosed sleep apnea. It was right when CPAPs were kind of starting, but weren't really widely used. And that is a huge reason why he developed Parkinson's. He had very significant sleep apnea. So if you're not sure, it's not super common, but as we get older, it gets more common. And I've heard as people are midlife and beyond, it's as common as 25% of people have sleep apnea. So if you're not sure, if you snore at night, if you ever wake up gasping for air, which is a super common sign, or if someone's ever told you that, or if you're a restless sleeper, it's might be a good idea to get a sleep test. And I have a referral for that, and that I'll talk more about. But it can be done at home now. There's great science behind it. It's really easy to do. Okay, so those are the four most important things that kind of will decrease blood flow and oxygen. Okay, so those things we want to try to eliminate. So we don't want dehydration. We don't want to be sedentary. We don't want poor sleep, and we don't want too much smoking, caffeine, or alcohol. Okay. All right, so the next bucket is how can we improve vascular health? So one big bucket one is lower your blood pressure. And this is probably where we've heard a lot of talk about, improving health, right? And it's that whole big bucket. Exercise lowers blood pressure. Good, healthy diet lowers blood pressure. Reducing stress and getting good sleep. And there's lots of stuff out there about that. And it can be overwhelming, but it's kind of the basics, right? Two things I want to talk about that I think is talked about less, but are really easy to implement. Both of them have to do with vasodilation, but there's two different ways to approach vasodilation. So vasodilation means the expansion of your vascular system or your blood vessels. When your blood vessels vasodilate, that means they get bigger, and that means blood can more easily flow through them. Blood pressure goes down, blood flow to all of our cells, all of our tissue increases. So one way of vasodilation is through heat. There's been studies that show that saunas at the right temperature and the right amount can improve brain health and reduce risk factor of Alzheimer's by 65%. Problem with saunas is if you don't have one, it's not easily accessible. It can be time intensive, right? So again, might not be the most realistic solution for some people. But baths can be another way, even warm drinks. But one that I really like that's super easy is a heating pad, specifically a heating pad on your neck, which will specifically vasodilate the veins and arteries going to and from your brain. And so that can be a real easy one just for a few minutes. If you've been sitting for a long time or you need a little, can you just put a heating pad on your neck for a few minutes, a couple times a day. And that can really be an easy way to increase blood flow to the brain. Another one, probably even less known than that, is getting vasodilation through the release of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a really important It's a gas actually that gets in our blood, and it comes from the easiest way to increase nitric oxide comes from compression. Nitric oxide is really important for vasodilation. It also helps with, so it relaxes your blood vessels. So that once your blood vessels relax, it increases blood flow and it will lower your blood pressure. When you're getting nitric oxide on a regular basis, it actually improves the overall elasticity of our vessels. As we age, you might have heard of arteriosclerosis. That is the stiffening of our blood vessels, and that's common as we age. That's what leads to increased blood pressure, decreased blood flow. But if we maintain elasticity of our vascular health, then that reduces blood flow, blood pressure. And so that's a great way. So nitric oxide improves the elasticity. It also is a neurotransmitter. So it helps to transmit signals between our nerve cells. So that's great for brain function. And it also plays a role in regulating blood clotting, preventing platelet aggregation, so clumping of platelets. So it maintains the integrity of our blood vessel walls. So we have walls inside of our blood vessels called endothelial walls, and the healthier those are, the more efficient and better our blood flow is going to be. So nitric oxide is this very cool molecule that really helps with our vascular health. And one easy way to get it to release, it's released through lots of things: exercise, nutrition, sleep, but compression will really specifically and quickly get a dump of nitric oxide. Compression are things like Normatec boots. And part of the reason Normatec boots work is because they cause this release of nitric oxide, which expands the blood vessels, which increases blood flow, which improves recovery and healing. So Normatec boots are often used after a workout, let's say, and it helps promote recovery. BFR is the same thing. And so as most of you guys that know me, I do big believer in blood flow restriction training, but you can use BFR even without working out. You can just use it as a compression device to increase nitric oxide and increase vasodilation. So those are some cool tricks, because you only need to do that for a couple minutes, just like the heating pad, 2-3 minutes on your neck. Compression, 2-3 minutes of compression will get a release. So doing those little things a couple times throughout the day, especially if you have a sedentary job where it's difficult to move a lot, that can be a way to get some quick blood flow improvements throughout the day. Okay, last bucket, increasing blood flow through movement. So number one, so I want to first say there's two things. There's movement and there's exercise, and they're not the same thing, even though they're related. Exercise is specifically building muscle or building VO2 or aerobic endurance. Movement is just movement. We need a lot of movement, but movement alone is not exercise. So we need to move more during the day. And one thing, people talk a lot about a stand-up desk because sitting is so bad, but standing stationary is not that much better for your blood flow. As a matter of fact, it's worse for your veins of your legs. It can cause venous insufficiency, which is pooling of blood in your lower leg. And if you're standing for long periods of time, that can be difficult. So one trick is instead of a standing desk, I think a walking desk. And a walking desk is not like a treadmill. You're not walking fast. You're not running. It's not a workout. It's just very slow walking that is way better for you than sitting or standing. It just keeps the blood flowing a little bit more. It helps the venous return a little bit more. And so if you're someone that has a sedentary job where you just can't help but be in front of a computer screen for the majority of your day, which is many of our workforce now, a walking desk can be something great to think about. And a walking desk, you can get a good one under $200. It's not expensive. It's not like a high grade treadmill. They're much smaller. You're going at a slow pace, but that's something interesting to think about. Aerobic exercise is great for blood flow. So this could even be brisk walking, biking. But with aerobic exercise, you need more of it for it to be as effective. So high intensity training is actually even better for blood flow, and you don't need to do it as long. The challenge with high intensity training, it's difficult. It can be intimidating if you're aging or injured or have any limitations or just don't like the feeling of that high of exertion. It can be difficult to do. So that's where I feel like I've been using blood flow restriction training that kind of in place of high intensity training. It is still high intensity training, but without quite the same amount of effort level. What I like about blood flow restriction training is that it mimics high intensity training, but it also brings in this other element of it's causing hypoxia in the muscles. And this is where we get nitric oxide, vasodilation, and we also get an increase in brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which I didn't talk about much yet, but really what BDNF is it plays a crucial role in neural growth and also neuroplasticity. It promotes synaptic connections. It's also an anti-atherosclerotic, so not having your vessels be stiff, and a vascular endothelial protection. So lots of big words there, but basically really important for vascular health, keeping flexibility, keeping the lining of our veins and arteries healthy, promoting more efficient blood flow, and then also helping with the neurons in our brain. So it's really like, I've heard it called the fertilizer of our brain. It helps to really keep those neurons firing and healthy. So what I love about BFR training is it combines a lot of these elements into one. So you're getting the benefits of high intensity aerobic exercise. You're also getting nitric oxide, which is going to help that vasodilation, which is going to lower blood pressure and increase all of your tissues to have more blood, but in particular the brain, since that's what we're talking about today, and also releases BDNF. So as far as getting an increase in blood flow and movement, BFR is a great tool to kind of get and cover multiple bases at once. But really the message is move more often as much as you can, work that in. If getting a walking desk doesn't feel realistic to you, make sure you're getting up at least once an hour and moving around for a couple minutes to get that blood flowing, or try some of the, the compression or the heat in addition, so that we get blood flow. Remember that too long of sitting deteriorates blood flow, deteriorates vascular health as much as smoking. So that's pretty startling. So little tips, little tricks to try to realistically fit more movement into your life. So in summary, trying to give you 4 simple takeaways. One, if you have any inkling that sleep might be an issue for you, and as we get older, you might have been a good sleeper when you were younger, but as you get older, that can change. I have a great company called Empower Sleep. They do at-home sleep tests. One thing that's different about them, the sleep test is just not a one-night sleep test. You wear a ring, not an Oura ring. It's much more robust than that for sleep in particular. And you wear it for 7 to 10 nights. So they really get a big picture. And then they give you lots of coaching and tips, and they evaluate it. They're great science. It's $500 to do the test, which is actually not too bad. I've set up something with them. If I can get enough people, I can get it for $400 for people. If anyone's interested, let me know. I don't have any skin in the game on that. It's just something I've found that's been really helpful, and it's kind of the newest, best thing in sleep. Consider getting a walking pad for under your desk if you're at your desk a lot. Again, under $200, so it's not really cost prohibitive. So something to consider that I think is next level up from a standing desk. This is maybe one of my favorite ones because this is simple for anyone to do. Improve your blood flow before you go to sleep. This will actually help continue better blood flow during sleep. So you can just do a simple 5-minute nighttime routine. If you're someone like maybe me who tends to watch TV before bed, I know that's not supposed to be great for blue light stuff, but this can be also a great routine to help you fall asleep. So heating pad on the neck opens up the vascular system to the brain. Maybe having a little bit of hot water. That's another way to get heat. Plus we're getting water, lack of dehydration. Nasal strips, super basic, but that opens up the airway. We want to breathe through our nose when we sleep. So the better airway we have through our nose, the more likely we're going to breathe through our nose. And that helps with our parasympathetic system and allows us to sleep more deeply. So just putting on a simple breathe right nasal strip. Maybe doing a little bit of deep breathing exercise while you're sitting with your heating pad through your nose, again, gets you into your relaxed parasympathetic system, will make it easier to fall asleep while boosting blood flow. And you can even put on some BFR compression, or if you have any other compression sleeves, like compression socks. That's not enough compression. That's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about some kind of compression device. So Normatec boots, BFR, to get that nitric oxide release. And if you combine these things, you're getting a relaxation effect, a parasympathetic downregulation, good nasal breathing, and good blood flow through your whole body, especially to your brain, and may help you even fall asleep easier. So that's kind of a fun one that anyone can do. Doesn't take a lot of time. And then my last recommendation is, if you haven't done this already, incorporating BFR compression along with your exercise, so that not only do you get the benefit of exercise, but you get the added benefit of the hypoxia that's created with BFR, with the nitric oxide, the BDNF. It'll improve vascular function. As we said, vascular health is one of the most important parts of brain health. Vascular health equals brain health, as well as creating the neuron growth and plasticity, which is great for memory, cognitive function, learning, all of those things. All right, look at that, about exactly 20 minutes. I'm going to stop my share. I'm not going to unmute you guys because I actually can't do that, but you guys can unmute yourself or raise your hand or however, let me know. You can put it in the chat if anyone has questions or comments on any of that.
Ashley, can I ask?
Yeah.
No, can I ask a quick question? So
Sure.
thank you so much. Super helpful insights, very practical as always. I'd add that, like you, I love to watch Netflix and Amazon Prime before bedtime. And for me, blue light blocking glasses were a game changer. So I would recommend those.
That's a great tip. Yeah.
What was new for me is sauna. Could you give some sense of the frequency and duration if you were to make a recommendation?
Yeah. I'll look up. I did review the study. I'll have to look it up again what they said, but I think it's like 15 to 20 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week. One time a week's not really gonna get the benefits. But in the study that cited 65% reduction, it was more frequent, it was 3 to 5 times a week. But if you can get to the sauna once or twice a week, and then you can do other heat elements like a heating pad or something in conjunction, that still might give that boost. I think the sauna is going to get more, full body vasodilation. One thing I have read though, and this makes if you have too much heat exposure where you're getting into heat stress, that will actually cause vasoconstriction in the brain. So you want to probably do your research, check into it, but not super long periods of exposure to heat, 15 minutes. But I'll send out that article in my follow-up.
And sorry, Ashley, in a quick
Or
follow-up,
that
thank
study,
you.
I should say. Yeah.
Did I get it correctly that you recommend using compression boots, not just for recovery, but just as a kind of routine practice, right, for brain health?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Compression boots or BFR, either one, if you have access to either of those, you could use them daily as just a way to get an increase in blood flow. Now, it's going to help recovery faster, so it's a great recovery tool. But in terms of just blood flow, doing it daily is a great practice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great questions. Paula, you have any questions up there? Going to calling on people now.
Yeah. No, I find it fascinating. I love it. It all makes perfect sense. And like I told you in our training session, I immediately felt an effect on my brain fog after the very first workout. A huge change in brain fog and mood immediately.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I forgot to put this in my notes, but when I was doing the research, there's a huge correlation of blood flow with depression. Lack of blood flow to the brain definitely is linked to depression and even suicide. So getting better blood flow, good for mood, good for all of our, endorphins and our synapses and dopamine and all that. So yeah, that's awesome that you felt that so quickly, Paula. That's great. Julie, I see your hand raised. Sorry, you were patient there.
Hi there.
What's your question? Hi.
I was just wondering if you had any insights about creatine for brain health.
Yeah, so creatine is great. It is one of the best, most researched supplement that's very safe. And most people, especially middle age and up, I recommend to take it. It's great for building muscle. So I use it a lot in conjunction with the BFR program. But it's also great for brain health. Because I was focusing on blood flow in this, I didn't really go into the research on creatine. So I'd have to look into it more, like what it specifically does, but it is definitely known to help with brain health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And should we ping you like in a separate email if we want to try that in Power Sleep?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, if you're interested, send me an email and I can connect you with them or get you more information. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else? Emily or Wendy? You're muted, Wendy. I don't know if you were. No, you're good. All right, cool. Well, I hope that was helpful.
I have
yeah,
a
go
quick
ahead.
question. If you haven't engaged in, let's see, if you have engaged in a lot of these activities that are bad for brain health in your younger years, not saying that I am, but just hypothetically,
Asking for a friend.
are you able to unwind those, or are they insurmountable?
No,
I'm
for
just thinking
sure.
like I was totally sleep deprived, I mean, sitting at a desk, all those things, like, is it
So
undoable?
blood flow, obviously we can impact that day to day, right? Like if your blood flow was bad in the past, but you're getting it better now, like that's going to definitely, our body's very adaptable, and our brain in particular is very, very plastic. It's very trainable with healthy habits. So I don't know exactly, like, there is some like talk like, oh, do you do certain activities like kill brain cells, but you can recreate through blood flow, through nutrition. Emily, I know you exercise a lot, you eat well, so you're doing a lot of things right for you. And I was actually going to talk to those for you. I would think about the long sitting and maybe getting, a walking desk or something, because I do think that's something that that for you, lots of sitting and with your back and stuff, I think that would be helpful. But you're doing a lot of the other things that are going to really support blood flow. So no, that it's not like what we did when we were younger is permanent. As a matter of fact, as we get older, we can get away with a lot when we're younger because our cells are healthier, it operates better. But as we get older, this is when this stuff becomes more important to implement, because age starts working against us. So we need to do these positive habits to help prolong that. But research has shown, we used to think that like, oh, our brain cells got unhealthy as we age, or they started getting unfunctional. But it's actually, the research shows that it's the blood vessels that age that then affects the brain cells. So again, the health of blood vessels, which is through exercise, nutrition, compression, heat, all these things we talked about, creating vasodilation so we maintain elasticity. That's huge for our blood vessels. That is what's going to keep the cells of your brain healthy. I hope this was helpful. It was fun. I was kind of went deep into my research doing this, just like really trying to, there's so much, but I'm really trying to pick out things that were maybe a little unique or easy to implement. And really, I feel like getting some of these habits in, we want to break the things that are the biggest negatives. So again, that constant blood flow, whether it's through heat, compression, or movement, trying to implement that throughout the day. And then exercise is obviously key. And the more targeted exercise, more high intensity, or the BFR, is going to give us the biggest bang for our buck. But even aerobic exercise, obviously anything that's getting blood flow is going to help the overall health of our brain and our blood vessels. So hopefully that was helpful to learn about. And yeah, reach out if you have any questions. I'll send a follow-up email with the recording, and I'll send some links. I'll send a link to Empower Sleep. I'll try to include the sauna article. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me back. Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pam and Bridget.
Thanks, Ash. That was
Thanks so
awesome.
much. It was really informative.